Lads, in the game today, I played and I didn't have my microphone on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the footage in there of me playing so you can see it was a real game that I just played. It was a really crazy, intense game. But I will commentate over it. So let's just do this now. So we started the game and we noticed that our opponent was Manifant from Germany, a 1700. And we got right into a Dutch defense. In the Dutch, you often want to bring your bishop out. And I think I pointed that arrow over there because I was saying I would like to trade off that knight with the bishop if he ever moves his d-pawn. But he didn't move the d-pawn straight away. So I just put the bishop on e7 and castled. White had a really good setup here, and I think I was talking about how my opponents now are starting to play all the right moves in the opening. He's got his bishop finchetoed on the queen side there, and his pawns are up into the center, both of them together, and that's the best kind of position. So now I can actually start to use theory that I've studied from master games, because people are actually playing the openings really well, and I'm not getting crazy random beginner moves like most of us do in our games. I put the knight on e4, and I want to trade off the opponent's knight here. So I was really happy. I felt really good about what I was doing here, and everything was sort of coming together. He moved his queen out to c2, so I decided to swap off the knights and go for this a5 push, which is something Ginger GM talks about in his videos. It's a move that he said he used to play with his dad. Now, you can't put the knight on a6 because that would hang the pawn on a5. So instead, I went for a pawn push, I think. I can't remember quite what I did here. Did I push the pawn? I was considering pushing the pawn on c to c6, c7 to c6, so that my queen could hold the pawn. I can't remember if that's what I did, or did I? Oh no, I remember what I did. I put the knight on I think I put the bishop on f6. Yeah, bishop on f6. So now the d4 pawn can't push to d5, and I can play the knight to c6. If the bishop was not pinning that pawn, then knight to c6 is a mistake, because he can push his d4 pawn to d5 and then capture on e6 with the d5 pawn, because I'll have to move the knight. So that was quite interesting. Now, I couldn't even put the knight on b4 anyway, which is where I wanted it. So I was considering rerouting the knight in this position. I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen here, though. I started thinking about just pushing the pawn and going for a sort of advance on the king side and try to dislodge that knight, and maybe block in the light squared bishop of whites. But that's sort of what we went for. I didn't feel super comfortable opening up the d-file as well, because white has a rook on the d-file, and you can see here his position is pretty solid. And I felt sort of a little uncomfortable. I don't remember everything I was talking and considering about here, but the two pawns together, my e and f pawns, are working well together. I was trying to think, where should I put the queen? How can I attack the enemy king? Do I go all the way up to h5 and go for the h2 pawn and try to kick away the knight? But then how do I lift the rook from f8 to f6? Do I trade off my bishops and try to get my rook up with a bit of tempo? Because just moving the bishop, moving the rook is going to take a while. So I was wondering, is there a way that I can do this a little more naturally, where they take a bishop and then I recapture with the rook? So I think that is eventually what happens, but I can't remember quite what I was thinking. Was considering pushing the pawn here. I didn't like the look of it though, because if I recapture with the e5 pawn on f4, then my bishop, I didn't know if it looked good. But then when he pushed e3, I knew that pushing the pawn was not good, because I would just be down, because he captures first, I would capture, he would capture again, he'd be up a pawn, and yeah, I can maybe trade off the bishops and get my rook lifted, but I didn't want to be down a pawn. I was considering here fianchettoing my light squared bishop. Wasn't quite sure what to do. But I remembered that b6, if I had gone b6 here, then he actually has a tactic where he could just take my e5 pawn. And if he takes my e5 pawn, then I lose the pawn. And if I recapture with the c6 knight, then he wins my rook, because there's no pawn on b7. The pawn's on b6. So his bishop would take my rook. So I couldn't move b7 to b6 here. I was trying to think about what I almost wanted to do, just like a waiting move and just wait to see what he did. I didn't really feel very comfortable here, but then I found the move e4, and I thought this looked okay for me. It kind of traps the light squared bishop in for white. His bishop's fianchettoed, and now it's really got nowhere to go. And I thought if he takes my bishop on f6, I can lift my rook to f6 and then go to h6 and go after that pawn on h2. So I was feeling okay about it, but I don't think that quite happened. Look at that video of me. I'm really talking about stuff. I have no idea what I was saying. You can probably hear the rain outside. It's hitting my window pane. I may have been talking about that. I'm looking up at that window pane and I can still hear that rain. Maybe you can still hear it. He moves his knight to d4, and here I was trying to calculate what happens if I take it, and what happens if I don't take it. So if I don't take it, I have doubled c pawns. Maybe here what I should have gone is d7 with the bishop and then captured, but I wasn't entirely sure. I actually still haven't seen the analysis after watching or after recording the game. I'm doing this right after I recorded, because I realized straight away that I didn't have any audio. So it will be interesting to see the analysis once I put it in. What I'm missing. Bishop e6 here, because I didn't want him to double his rooks, and then I couldn't contest the d8 square. If I'd left my bishop there, he could have gone d8. I capture with my rook, and he captures with check, and then I can never move my bishop really until I go b7 to b6, put the bishop on b7, and then protect the rook on a8, and that wouldn't be good, because like, well, if he captures the rook on a8, then my bishop's on a8, and it's just sort of stuck in the corner. So here he's offering a queen trade, and I really didn't want to capture his queen, because then he's got doubled rooks on the d file. So he pushes his queen up, and here I'm trying to consider what's the best move to do. I don't think what I did was right, because I use my b pawn, and it's the center pawn, and letting him grab my center pawn means both of my pawns are isolated now. This was just definitely weakening. If I had just, I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at the analysis, so maybe it's not as weakening as I thought. But I thought I can recapture the pawn on b3. But I think this was a mistake. Don't give up your center pawn. You know, you got a pawn on A, B, and C. Don't give up the center one. So that wasn't smart by me, I don't think. And now my rook's stuck to defending the pawn on a5. And maybe here what I should have done is pushed a5 to a4. I didn't even consider that, actually. I'm only seeing that now. It's weird how when you watch a game and you're not really playing the game, that you actually start to spot things. I thought here, yeah, wow, I really should have gone a4, I think. Because a4, he can't push and defend his pawn on b5. If I go a4 here, then I can go b8 with the rook. I don't know why I didn't do that. Anyway, pushing the pawn up to c6 and going rook c8 here, sort of what I was thinking. I was like, I need to get the rook behind the pawn. I need to defend it. I do like where my bishop was, though. So, like, his rook can never come to the d file here. So he's kind of forced to put his rook behind his queen and go after my c pawn. I am losing my voice talking to you guys. But hey, maybe this is entertaining for you. I don't know. Maybe you kind of like this kind of style of analysis of a game. But I don't like it. I would rather just speak my analysis during the game. But maybe this is helpful for you guys. I don't know. It might be more instructive. I can like devote all my attention to just talking about my ideas instead of playing the game. So the queen comes down and he's offering a trade. I actually think I should have taken the trade because then his pawns are isolated as well. And I could go rook b8 up to b4 and go after his a pawn. I don't know what I was doing with these moves. I really should have gone for that, I think. He gets his bishop involved, which was my only advantage in this position. So now I think he's starting to get ahead in the position. I think he's starting to really come back here. And this was quite a sharp game. You'll see all the way through to the end. I'm not going to tell you who wins, but like this game was very intense. Now, if I go rook if I go rook d6 here, he can just take it. He could have just taken it because I couldn't recapture with my pawn because then his rook on c1 would take my rook on c8. So here I was thinking if I go the king up to f7, he can what did he have? Oh yeah, he had rook d7, and rook d7 would not be taken by the bishop on e6 because the bishop on e6 would have been pinned. So I was like, I have to go to f8 instead and then to e7. But I wanted to get out of the pin because I saw that my bishop was pinned here, so I thought it was best for me to move my king. So he just trades off the bishops. Like a big pansy. He traded off the bishops like a pansy. And here I have to go e7 just to defend my pawn because he has two attackers on it. I do not want to give him an extra pawn, especially when he's got his pawn on b5 so advanced. It's ready to promote. So I was a bit worried. Here I saw he was attacking my f5 pawn, so I go g6. He moves over, so now both of his pieces are attacking my pawn, but I have both rooks defending, and so here he plays the move b6. So I have to move my king in to defend. If I take, he wins a rook. Now he has the idea of going b7 to push, but I know that I can go b8 and be okay because my king is holding the pawn with my rook now. So here he captures on a5, which I think was a mistake because I recapture and I'm attacking both of his rooks. And now I have a b pawn alive and he has an a pawn alive. And I think having a b pawn is slightly stronger than having an a pawn, but like with both the rooks on, I think this game is completely drawn. But is it a draw at the end? You'll have to keep watching to see. Maybe I lose. Oh dear. I have half the time he has as well, so if time is an issue, I'm probably going to lose on time. You guys know me very well. I always like to lose on time. So here I'm looking at a trade on d7, get two rooks off, and we got the last rook alive. If he trades now at any point, my king is closer to the action, so I can definitely benefit from trading. I thought I'll go c6. If he checks me again, I'll just go b7 and then walk around to his pawn. I'm much closer than his king, so I feel like I have an advantage here. So he just does a little step up. And I think here what I maybe should have done is played the rook up to c7. Because this gave him time to get into the game. So I was like, I just need to get a trade with the rooks, and then my king is going to be able to grab the a pawn much quicker. But I think I wasted a lot of time here. It wasn't so good. So now I decide I'm just going to walk around to b7 and try to get that pawn on a4. Here I saw I had an opportunity to get behind his pawn. And as soon as I move the king, it allows his rook into c7. So I do have to be careful. Maybe I should have put my pawn on, or my rook on d7 just instead of on d3. But here he's starting to push his pawns on the king side, and I know if I take the pawn, that's going to leave me with weaknesses. So it's better for him to take. And I thought I'll go here b3, b4, and defend. Then I have two attackers on this pawn. I'm going to win a pawn here. That's what I was thinking. But his king is coming up for that b5 pawn, or f5 pawn. So I am looking a bit worried. So here I think I'm just going to take his pawn. If he trades, I win. And here on c4, and then I can just start to escort this pawn. And I thought my rook can hold the e4 pawn. If he goes en passant, I can capture. If he goes his pawn, not en passant. If he goes his pawn from f2 to f4, I can en passant. And now my b pawn is marching. I'm feeling a bit more confident. But this is still not an easy game, because he's got connected pawns. And if he can get rid of my pawn on e4, he's going to be doing very well. I think it's coming up here where I make some mistakes. We're like down to a minute, and I was feeling a bit stressed with the time. But I was trying to figure out what's the move to do here soon. You'll see it's coming up just in a second, where it's very tricky to find the right move. So he moves his king over, and I only have one move here, I think. I think this is a great move, because it's the only available move. But I go king to b5, and I have to hold on to my rook, and I have to hold on to my pawn. So if I move my rook, I would have lost the pawn, and then I would have been in trouble. Now, I am starting to get a little bit ahead on time, but here, his move to b2, this was having me struggle a bit. You know, I was really worried here because I can't move my king, I can't move my rook because I lose the pawn. So I decide to go h6. I didn't want to go h5, because then if I go h5 and he goes h4, then it's my move again. I felt like, what do I do in this position? But actually, I think now that I'm looking at it, maybe going rook to c1 was a better move. I don't know, but I think if I just gone c1 and gotten my rook ready on the promotion square, and then just walked my king up the a file, and yeah, just escorted that pawn to victory. If I had just done that immediately, I think I would have been doing okay. But I didn't do that. I left my rook defending the pawn on e4. So he starts moving his king around. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to slowly advance up this side of the board. I'll give him that pawn. And here, okay, I just decide I'm just going to grab the pawn on h4. And I think this move, I should have gone g4 with my rook. I'm not entirely sure, but I think I really felt bad, like as soon as I'd moved that I should have gone g4, because now he can get really close to my pawn, and I didn't want him to do that. So here he advances his pawn. I'm a bit worried. I'm not quite sure how to get one of my pawns promoted. So I go after his e-pawn, and he pushes it again, which is really scary. So now I think if he goes for my h4 pawn, I can take his f4 pawn. And here he attacks my rook, and I go c3. I don't think this was good, because if I look at it now, he can take on b4, and then I take his rook, and then he wins my rook, and he'd actually have two passed pawns. But maybe my pawn can promote a little quicker than his. I don't know. It's very touch and go. I think it's very touch and go. I don't know which pawn would have promoted quicker. So now I'm just trying to promote with my pawn on the b file. That's like my only goal here. And here when he checks me, I probably should have gone d3 with the rook. But we are able to get a rook in an endgame. It looks good for me, but actually I think if he didn't run out of time here, I would have probably lost this, because 2 pawns on the 6th or the 3rd rank are winning. So I actually won on time, and I went a bit crazy here. I was like, let's go. You can see my reaction. I was very happy. My opponent played very well. 80.4% accuracy by me, 79.5% by him, but an insanely close game. I'm not going to do a post-game analysis on this one because I kind of spoke through all my ideas and thoughts in this game. But thank you lads so much for watching and bearing with me even with my technical difficulties here. And I hope you enjoyed this game. We're now at my peak rating. The peak rating is 1716. So we are climbing the 1700s, which is very exciting for me. And I'll hopefully keep on winning. But thanks for liking and everything with the videos. It's really helpful. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.